Leslie, when were you in Burkina Faso?
I was there from 1981 to 83.
Where did you live?
I lived in the little town of Kaibo, which was about 150 kilometers southeast of Ouagadougou.
How big a town is Kaibo?
Very small. I don't think anyone really had any figures on how many people lived down there, but I would estimate maybe 5,000.
What were you doing in Kaibo?
I was working with farmers. My title was Rural Credit and Management Advisor, and we had a revolving AID fund which we could use to make small loans to farmers to do anything that would improve their farming situation, and also to help with local community development, animation, handicraft production, a lot of small business enterprise projects, as well as agricultural cooperatives.
Were you the only American in Kaibo?
Yeah, in Kaibo, but there was another American in a nearby town.
What was it like being a young, single, white girl living in a young woman living in
After the first couple of months, I would say I felt safer there than I've felt anywhere in the United States. The first couple of months were rough because I really didn't know what to expect from people, and I was living on my own, and I'd come from a situation where I was living with friends or family. So, I was a little concerned at the beginning, but people were very, very respectful. I guess one thing you really needed to get used to is that people will come and visit you without being invited. But, once I saw that they were doing it just to be friendly, I really didn't mind. I felt very comfortable down there.
Did you cook for yourself? How did you manage your daily life?
Oh, eating is definitely a big part of your daily life. It took a lot more effort to get food together. Since I was living on my own, I was eating on my own most of the time, but I had a family living very close by, and they invited me for a lot of dinners. I would say 3 or 4 times a week I had dinner with this family, and then I would I'd bring them food so that I felt like it was an equal relationship. But they were preparing food for the family anyway, and they were just a young couple at the point when I met them. They didn't have any children, so I felt like I wouldn't be a big burden on them if I ate with them, provided I, contributed to the pot. But for the most part, for breakfast and lunches, I did my own cooking. I had a little gas stove, and then I had a wood stove outside. So I learned how to build fires and do the outside cooking bit.
What sorts of things did you eat?
I really liked the food. I didn't really master, the production of local food, but the basic crop, the staple crop, millet, was okay, and we'd make it into a paste, and then they would eat it with different sauces, which had dried leaves and vegetables and meat. I really liked that a lot. In fact, I gained about 15 or 20 pounds when I was over there. I really ate well. I guess when I cooked for myself, it was more simple, meats and whatever vegetables you could get your hands on. Yeah.
Do you ever dream about Burkina Faso?
More daydreams than night dreams, I think. It's been, 6, 7 years now. I haven't really had too many totally involuntary dreams, but I think about it a lot in my waking life, and I think about going back.
What do you think about? What does it feel like when you think about it?
I guess, in my mind, I've held it to where it was when I left. It's totally the same. Of course, I know, the children I knew have grown up, and probably some of the older people have passed away. But, the environment, I imagine, is pretty much the same. It's, I guess my area was fairly green, given it was close to the southern part of the country. Green in the summer and brown in the winter. But I definitely imagine those smiling faces back there, and I think, if I went back, it would be pretty easy to remember people, and I think they'd remember me.
Do you maintain contact with anyone?
Yeah, one person in particular, one of the extension agents that was working with the farmers, we were colleagues, and he's very recently sort of stepped up his correspondence with me, and he started sending me cassette tapes in French. So I've sent one back to him now, and I'd really like to keep this correspondence going. It's a lot easier than letters. It's like this, once you start talking, you really keep talking, although it's in French, so it's more difficult. But I'm really looking forward to seeing him again, because I think we have a lot in common. And he's working very hard with the farmers, and he's made a lot of progress. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
What sorts of things is he doing with the farmers?
He's very good at getting people motivated and organized and excited. And I think in the rural parts of Burkina, that's really important because they don't have a lot of outside stimulation. And so he's got so many good ideas about new planting techniques and better ways to market whatever they're producing, how to avoid waste, and what to do about the cattle coming in. He's just got a lot of good ideas, and the farmers respect him. So consequently, I really do too. And he's just a very family-oriented person. He works with the children. He's Christian, and he works with the church, children in the church. He plays guitar, and their kids are always hanging around his house. He's a really likable guy, and his wife as well. She works with women's groups.
That's interesting that you say he's a Christian.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of Christians in that part of?
Yeah, in that part of Burkina, I would say it's maybe 35% to 40% Christian, and then another big percentage of Muslim and a small percentage of animist. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting area because there's a town called Kaibo, but there are also some resettled villages around Kaibo, and they've just got numbers. And they were part of the Volta Valley Authority land resettlement program. It's land alongside the Volta rivers where they eradicated the black fly. So they've brought people from the Masi Plateau down, and they're from lots of different tribes and therefore different religions and different backgrounds. It's kind of an unusual area.
How does that work when you have people who are of different faiths or different religions?
I guess the same way it works here. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, there was harmony, and I think, on a social level, people tend to socialize with people who are more like them, who have similar holidays and beliefs and lifestyles. But all in all, I never saw any outright, hatred between Muslims and Christians or animists and Muslims. It was a pretty friendly place.
Very often, the ethnic or the tribal sort of identification overpowers those.
Well, but there were different tribes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had Masi and Bisa and, oh boy, I don't even remember the names anymore, but there were several different groups, mm-hmm. depending on what part of the Masi Plateau they came from, or whether they were local people from the south.
Did you travel a lot while you were there?
Yeah, I had a motorcycle, and since I was a bush volunteer, I guess I sort of needed to get out once in a while, and since I was working pretty closely with this Volta Valley Authority, and their officials were in Ouagadougou, as well as our Peace Corps officials, I probably went up to the capital once every 6 weeks. And I really couldn't get a lot of things in my village, so it was nice to be able to go up there and, resupply and, drink a few cold beers and Cokes. So I couldn't get that stuff at all where I was. And, I also traveled out to the western part of the country, to Bobo Dioulasso, and that was fascinating. So I had my little motorcycle and went out there on a motorcycle. It's a totally different part of the country. The topography was different.
What's it like?
The agriculture is different. It's much greener, lush, less dusty. The roads are better. I guess somebody invested a lot of money in the western part of the country. Used to be the trading capital. So the infrastructures are slightly better, I think, out there. But Ouagadougou had its charm.
Mm-hmm. I never spent a lot of time in that part of the country, but do have this image of the Chute de Bonfora, the waterfall.
Yeah, it's lovely. Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm trying to imagine that in
a
the
waterfall
country.
in Burkina, right?
Yeah.
I know. If you're anywhere else in the country, it's hard to imagine. But it's there.
It's there.
Yeah. And it grows sugar and mangoes all over the place, pineapples. It's very different. And I think, because there's an abundance of different varieties of food, people tend to be maybe a little healthier, just easier to keep yourself healthy with good food. Yeah.